whatever you got to do to get the results. Because you and I both know it takes work.
It does. It does. It takes effort. And that effort, when it's sourced from love, is a completely different picture and experience than when those results are created from willpower, which I believe is a kind of bankrupt concept, so to say. And it's like night and day when you can shift your way of being from fear to love, and we can create results either way. Now the question is, how long are they going to last? And my experience has shown me that when you can create those results from education, true understanding, and love, they last a lifetime. And it's exciting.
Warning, warning. As a medical doctor, I must inform you that there are side effects to this coaching session. Beware. It may enhance your self-esteem, cause you to experience vibrant health, encounter long-term weight loss, heal damaged relationships. Warning, there are side effects to this coaching session. It may increase your enthusiasm for life and bring about hope. It may cause you to have productive and optimistic thinking. It could even help you not allow messed up people to ruin the rest of your life, and help you realize the masterpiece that you are, and empower you to be the boss of your brain. Warning, these side effects may be long-term. This is Dr. Isabel from Doctoronamission.com.
Hello, team. It's me, your host, Dr. Isabel, and you're here at the MD and Chef Team podcast. And today I am so excited. I have a brand new friend that I'm going to introduce you today. I'll just tell you a little bit about her, and then we're going to just open up the floor and take off. Her name is Jennifer Helene, and she's the life coach and also the Vitality podcast host, and has been helping women integrate their healthy minds, bodies, and souls to become their best. I love that. You know, I'm all about that. And most authentic selves. She's been a MasterChef cast member, created life-transforming programs for health institutes. Yes, you have. And university, and is a member of the Forbes Coaching Council, and so much more. I'm going to go ahead and introduce to you Jennifer Helene, and she likes to be called Helene. Hi, Helene.
Hello. So honored to be here. And I just love everything about you, Isabel. So
oh, I love you too. We just finished doing a podcast, and I was her guest, and I'm just like, wow, I just love this whole deal.
Thank you.
So tell us where you're from. Where are you living right now?
Well, I live right now in Northern California. I've been here for about 6 years. After living abroad for 10 years, it was, where was I coming back to? I was trying to find my spot here in the United States and didn't realize how little of the US I actually understood and knew. And I'm still discovering it. I mean, what a great, beautiful country this place is. Of course, it has its downfalls, but it is beautiful land. And I love it out here. I love mostly the food culture because I'm such a foodie. So for me, just living here, the food culture has been just delightful, as well as the sheer magnificence of nature.
Yes. And it's probably sunny out there right now, right?
Yes, it's really sunny. Yes. And the jasmine is bursting, and everything is growing right now. The grape leaves are coming back, and the artichokes are starting, and it's really a beautiful time.
Spring is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, year round. I mean, coming from the East Coast,
Yeah.
Washington, D.C., also beautiful, but we had winter, and this time of year is a little different out here.
Isn't that crazy that we're both from the East Coast and the Washington, D.C. area? I mean,
it is unusual. Yeah. And there's a very special breed of person that comes from that area.
Really?
I think so. Yeah. Everywhere else in the world I've met people, I'm like, you are from the Washington, D.C. area, that you can there's something about us, the way we articulate, how we enunciate even. It's a little different.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask, I just caught a little bit about your story. I'd love to hear your story that began when you were 7, because you are already thrown into the medical system, and gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I came out not even supporting breast milk. So they put me on soy milk, and then chronic ear infections my entire childhood, had my tonsils out. So really from the moment I was born, it seems that, I had health problems, intolerances, difficulties that we really used Western medicine to try to find solutions for. That was what my mom knew. Outside of the church, we had our Western medical doctors, and we really tried our best. But even before I had osteomyelitis, I had all these ear infections that lasted, my entire childhood until age 18. And I also was in Weight Watchers. So I had, weight issues at age 5, my first Weight Watchers meeting. And then mom was in and out of Overeaters Anonymous. So that was the backdrop of my upbringing. So I understood that food could heal and food could harm. I understood that, food was celebration, but that life also wasn't worth living unless you had your health, because I had a rare bone infection. They actually thought it was leukemia because my white blood cell count was so high. It took them about 6 months to find that I had osteomyelitis after the bone marrow biopsy, which is quite intense, as anyone knows who's had one, whether you're an adult or a child. And so then I was on intravenous antibiotics. Luckily, they were able to save my leg, because without that, they normally would have had to amputate, which of course would have changed my life forever. And it did change my life forever, because just that awareness that not taking your health for granted, as I did, and most people do until it's threatened, came to me at a very, very young age. I realized there was nothing more important than my health, because nothing could actually function in my life without it. And that was really clear. And I actually compound spiral fractured my other leg just as I was getting out of the wheelchair. I was in a wheelchair only because the catheter kept falling out. So I had to stay in the wheelchair so I could receive those intravenous antibiotics. So it was a tricky 3 years.
You were in a wheelchair for 3 years.
Pretty much, yeah.
As a 7-year-old.
Yeah, that's right.
Where energy is injected into your body every single day. How did your parents keep you in a wheelchair?
I had the most incredible mother. She was incredible. She just loved me so much, and she made everything fun. And she was just the best. She wasn't perfect, right? But I mean, I really lucked out. I got a good mom. Really good.
Great.
And a good dad too. Yeah. I really did. But I just remember her presence during that time was so uplifting and fun and stimulating and exciting. And, she was just great.
So you got out of the wheelchair. Then what was your next Kapow moment?
Oh, that's a good question. I got really into school. So I was just going, we had a secondary school in Northern Virginia that had 7,000 kids in it.
Wow.
It's a lot of people.
Is that Fairfax County?
That's Fairfax County.
Oh,
and I live in Fairfax, California now, which is kind of funny.
That's funny.
And I think that for me, it was just so exciting to be in my body and to be able and capable. And so I was playing field hockey and lacrosse, and I was in doing my voice, training, because I was trained to be an opera singer, and I was in theater, and I was in chorus. And, it was just like, I was just like so excited about life and living it and doing everything I could. And so that's what I did. I just was really excited and engaged and, thrilled to just be alive.
And out of the chair.
Yes, out of the wheelchair.
And there's 7,000 new friends to be made.
Exactly. I was in student government. That's right. I did like president, vice president throughout. Yeah, it was really fun. So I just, and I'd always been performing and kept performing. And I had a really exciting, very full upbringing in Northern Virginia. And then I went to live in New York City thereafter. And I've always been interested in theology and theological concepts. And I dove deeply into that when I lived in New York City as well. That's where I found yoga. And then I married and moved to Switzerland and started a fashion company with my husband. And we ended up running that for the next 10 years. And that's when I would learn food as medicine.
Yes.
and I got my bachelor's and master's degree in nutrition. And I studied with the grandmothers in Greece and in France and in Germany. I learned to speak fluent French and German. And I, led this company, this international fashion company, which was a very valuable teaching about business. And that coupled with my passion for improved health outcomes that unfortunately Western medicine couldn't provide me. Outside of that, of course, saving my leg. My mother died abruptly at age 59 with severe obesity as one of her causes of death.
Oh, Helene.
Tragic, but it made me even more excited about my mission to teach people how, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can live a healthy life. Discipline is freedom. And so all of these, components that I saw her struggle with and that I've struggled with, I was able to create methodologies around. So when I came back to the US, I divorced, moved back here about 12 years ago and started getting really deep into how I could help heal the healthcare system and understand where it's broken. And I felt and still feel that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But
yes, ma'am.
A lot of work. But anyway, I ended up working with different teams to create methodologies for training health coaches in different areas, cognitive impairment, cardiometabolics, RNA, DNA, and then worked with universities and institutions to train health coaches, because I believe health coaching is really helpful in healing this gap in healthcare, just to be the accountability and educational partner as a medical doctor yourself. The model doesn't support, the education and accountability, which is really for me, the glue that makes it stick, these lifestyle changes that we both know are so critical for improved health outcomes long-term.
I am nothing without my team of health coaches. I cannot do life without my health coaches.
Nice.
Because you know what? The health coaches are like the psychologists, and when people are getting health coached, they're just speaking their heart and they're sharing their stuff and they're really being very vulnerable and sharing their bad habits. And so as a health coach, they're teaching them, okay, well, you got to course correct and this is what you got to do. And that takes time, and doctors don't have the time to do that.
They don't, but there's never been a bigger need for health coaches. And yet there are so many coaches that are decently trained and enough trained to actually warrant a career path. And so it's changing every day, but it's still early on. And so I've been involved in a lot of different programs and trained thousands of health coaches in over 60 countries. And I know that it's part of the answer. And at the end of the day, we have to take responsibility for our health, and we have to get correct information about things, methodologies, lifestyle practices that work.
Amen. What would you say is the definition of the optimal health coach?
A health coach that's trained both in whole food diet. So whole foods, I think whole foods is really key, who understands basic supplementation, has a good education in diet and exercise. They don't need to be a dietitian per se. And they should also have what I call an ontological coaching background. So a properly trained life and executive coach. It would be ideal to find a health coach that, who has a lot of education, either certifications or even, a university-based program in nutrition and exercise, as well as the coaching piece. The coaching piece needs to be trained. And I honestly don't see any health coaching programs anywhere in the world that are doing an adequate enough job in teaching people the art and science of ontological coaching. It's very, very rare.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that's the ideal scenario, but that's, many, many years, and it's not inexpensive, but I have a passion for creating sustainable change for my clients. There's really not much more maybe than seeing, rainbows and sunrises, experiences of awe. There's not much more that brings me delight than having those aha moments when my clients are able to see it for themselves. And I know that the changes they're making are going to last a lifetime. Mm-hmm. You never can forget the way it makes you feel when you're healthy and vital.
I know. And people, I know. But it's a choice. You have to make the choice of, am I going to live with my excuses and remain where I am? Or are you going to go and chase down the results? I mean, that's the choice that people need to make is, am I happy here? Is this where I'm going to be? Or am I going to give away my excuses? Because everybody is full of excuses.
Yeah.
Why it's so hard. It's so hard. Are you going to just do whatever you got to do to get the results? Because you and I both know it takes work.
It does. It does. It takes effort. And that effort, when it's sourced from love, is a completely different picture and experience than when those results are created from willpower, which I believe is a kind of bankrupt concept, so to say. And it's like night and day when you can shift your way of being from fear to love, and we can create results either way. Now the question is, how long are they going to last? And my experience has shown me that when you can create those results from education, true understanding, and love, they last a lifetime. And it's exciting.
You're absolutely right. Love is, and teaching people how to love themselves. Because if they learn how to love themselves, they'll love themselves to health, because they'll take responsibility. Do you know what I mean? I know. It's like, come on, love yourself.
Something that's been really valuable for me is trying to see myself through God's eyes. I believe in God, and I know that He receives everything from me, all of my prayers, all of my desires, all of my angst. He can see me. And if I can try to see myself through His eyes, then I can see myself through the eyes of love. And it's not my automatic. I'll be honest. It's something I have to practice.
Me too, because it's hard. It's hard to be love out there, to see and love people all the time, especially when they, poke you.
Yeah. And and the Bible taught me, Jesus, He wasn't, love didn't mean getting taken over and abused, necessarily. Right. And there's a righteousness to it too, of like, I know what's right. And I know that even though my taste buds might want, the donut, my body, that's not loving for my body today, for example.
No.
So that's just one small example, but I think you know what I'm getting at.
Oh yeah. I like, for instance, for me, I'll just, I will be in the arena right now and just be vulnerable to everybody. I come from an alcoholic family. And one of the ways that I was dealing with anxiety and depression was numbing myself, and I would just numb myself with 2 or 3 glasses of red wine, and that would be day after day after day. And now I'm at the point where I realize God loves me so much that He doesn't want me to numb myself. He wants me to love myself, and say, Isabel, I love you. I don't want you to hurt yourself, because you and I both know that alcohol shrinks the brain. And like, who needs that? And alcohol can increase anxiety. Like, who needs that? Right. And so just realizing, no, I don't need to be drinking 2 or 3 glasses of red wine every night to numb out. I can actually just tune into God, tune into Jesus, and realize how much He loves me, and just read the Bible is just such a beautiful love story, right?
It is, yeah. It's a story about everything, though. War and love and justice. It's everything.
I know. And a lot of people think it's so hard to read, but I just say, go read Psalms. Psalms is beautiful.
You want to open your heart? You want to not feel sad? Read Psalms.
Yeah. Like Psalms 91 is just so beautiful. But anyway, we'll talk about that in another session, right?
Okay. Absolutely.
I don't know what we'll call it, but healing by love through God.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how does it without it.
What are you doing now? Tell us how you're helping heal the world now.
Yeah, well, this year I've launched into my own work, and that is a combination of my depth of love and understanding around these different modalities of healing. So I believe very strongly in nourishment, and nourishment is about the food that we're putting into our mind and our bodies and our souls. And so for me, the first pillar is really around food. nourishing our bodies with whole foods, foods that heal, not foods that harm. And so I'm very creative in the kitchen, and I love to create delicious food. It's a passion and art form of mine. And that's huge. And then the other thing that I teach about is, of course, movement, emotionally engaged embodiment practices, yoga. We do all kinds of different movement practices in my work, and I can also I also recommend them in my programs. And then also spirituality. And that doesn't necessarily mean you need to believe in God, or you need to, have a religion, but just that there is something greater than you. And so these three pillars, nourishment, embodiment, and spirituality, are the things that I work around. And so to say, the things that hold the work, and the methodologies that I work with, either one-on-one or in groups. We work to transform your health, to get you back on track, to realign with what I call nature's law.
Beautiful. I love that. And because you've already put together the methods, to other programs around the world, you know what you're doing.
I do. And I felt like a lot of these other institutions, were very, very much inside of their methodology, which is perfect. But I always kind of like, if we did this, or we use those herbs, or if we, there's so much that I want to add to round out the methodologies, because of my international travels, because of my experience with these thousands of clients, that I really want to bring it all to the table and create the transformations in person, one-on-one, and in groups. It's really satisfying for me.
It is, to help see people go, that's what I need to do.
Yeah. And just suffer less and have more joy, and be able to feel what there is to feel and move through it with skills. It's important. It's really important. And we need to support each other.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. And that was one of the things, and I'll ask you about, your story with anxiety and depression. When people are in that pit of anxiety and depression, the thing is, it's not like that's where they're supposed to be. It's just, they don't know the tools to get them out, to stay out of that pit. Like you see people out there in the world, and they just seem like they have the perfect life. They've got healthy relationships full of love and joy and respect, and they're happy all the time, and they're positive. It's not that these people don't have life hit them. I mean, life is hard, right?
Yeah,
it's just, they know they've got the tools to deal with anxiety and depression. And you and I are both like letting people know, this is not your resting place. This is not where you have to be. There's a better way to live, and we've experienced it, and we want you to experience it too.
Yeah. And I recently have had an interaction with somebody who really is at the bottom of her barrel. She's so depressed. And I know I just felt kind of helpless the other day when I was sitting with her. And all I could do was really hold space, for what she was experiencing. But it's very, very real. And it's happening at a global scale. I mean, here you are in New Zealand, and I'm in California, and everything, all the points in between. I mean, it's everywhere. It's not how we're meant to be. It's part of the human condition, but it's quite intense. And I do want to say that, coaching is not for the clinically depressed. We definitely need to be working with clinicians to help with that, because it's real. I don't know that I believed that it was real, but it's very real.
When did you start believing that it was real, that anxiety and depression is a real condition?
I think that it was when my daughter was going through it, and I was in denial. And, it took her team of psychologists to, really look me in the eye and say, you got to stop, tiptoeing around this. Like, this is happening. Like, this is in your house. And then I had to take a really honest look at myself and look at all the ways in which I was kind of powering through life as a single mom, and how my mother did it, and her depression. So it was like this lineage of dysfunction that I was just, confronted with. And her transformation and healing happened when I was willing to look at my stuff.
And that takes a lot of guts, and you got to be very bold and courageous doing that, Helene. That's hard. I think that's the hardest work anybody could ever do.
I agree. But it was like instantaneous. As soon as I did my work, she turned around.
Wow.
It was like a miracle. That's how powerful we are.
Yep.
And our healing is so powerful when we can heal ourselves and support each other in that healing. It is profound.
And as mothers, man, when we benefit by taking care of ourselves, look at who else benefits. It's not just ourselves, it's everybody else we're feeding, you know? I always think I'm breastfeeding the world, but you know, I'm not, you and I. I know, but you know what I mean. When you're a mom, you feel like you're just feeding the world, but really, and that's something that's so key, Helene. I'm so glad you bring that up. You know, women have a really tough time prioritizing their care.
Totally.
Like, we're so good at taking care of everybody else, every other project out there. But when it's time to look in and take care of ourselves, no, I don't have time. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. And you know what? That just is terrible, because what happens when you take care of yourself? Look at what happened to you.
Everyone wins.
Yeah. So high five, girl, for taking care of yourself. I'm serious.
Thank you. And also, everyone loses when you don't. I mean, actually, because you can't show up like happy and full and, you know, just rested and vital. Like, you know, you're showing up dragging your stuff around and smearing it on other people. Like, no, it's like everyone pays when you don't. And I get that through your skulls, because I'm not talking about, you know, going to the spa for 3 hours every day, or maybe I am, whatever is it within your capacity, but we have to prioritize ourselves. And it looks different for every woman. How it looks for me is different than how it looks for my neighbor or you or anyone. Like we all have our nuances of what taking care of ourselves looks like.
Wow. I am going to have to invite you to do a talk with me on the shame-free anxiety and depression community for women. Really.
I'd love to.
Because that is key. Just you know, you sharing your story. Would you be okay sharing what you just told me about your daughter? And because, you know, that's one thing that hurts my heart, is that women are in the group, you know, we've got, like right now, it's over 100, and I'm grateful, you know, for the 100, I'm so grateful, but we're still hiding. Do you know what I mean? Like there's still just a few that speak out, but still everybody's in the bleachers, you know, nobody's jumping in and going, hey, this is me, you know, what do you know what I mean? Like being vulnerable and just sharing, because it's when we're vulnerable, when we're opened up and we face the elephant in the living room, like you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
That we're able to really start getting rid of that elephant. And it took your daughter to kind of help you. Isn't that great? Isn't God so good?
He is. I mean, sometimes I feel like, well, you know, maybe it should have happened earlier, but you know, it's divine. It's all perfect. But she's lost over 100 pounds. She's graduated from high school early. She's thriving. Yeah, it's just a miracle. If I could have told myself that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, if this would be the case today, I wouldn't have believed it. So it's really incredible. Our work is so valuable.
It is. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Hey, so can you give our listeners 3 action steps that they can use to help, that they can implement right away so that they can have a win today?
Absolutely. And many of you know this, I'm just reminding you, but 3 action steps that you can take today are to make sure that when your hunger comes, you're prepared for it. So that means, making sure that you're using up what you have in the fridge, that choosing healthy things to put into your body that are free of herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, that are hopefully organic and not genetically modified. It's really, really critical. Your brain and your gut and your body need whole foods that are pure in order to function optimally. And that's a miracle in itself, to just eat foods from their source. That is something you can actually right now, today, go to the grocery store if you haven't gone, get prepared for tomorrow. It is so important to be prepared for your hunger. It is going to come, just like the sun every morning. So get ready for it with whole healthy foods that are full of color. And another action step that I'd love you to take today is to be aware of that internal dialogue and to keep it in check. And that means either, let it get the best of you. That means let it take you to your best place. Don't let it get the best of you and taking you to your less best place. And you are the only one that can be the dictator, so to say, of that dialogue, that can decide, which side you're gonna believe, which story you're gonna hold on to, because that kindness that you can infuse yourself with is the warmth of acceptance, right? So if you can be kind to yourself, be loving to yourself, that will change absolutely everything about your day. And the third thing is to feel yourself in your skin. And that might be taking 3 deep breaths today, just to notice what it's like to be in your skin, and thank your body for being there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And to take that into any kind of movement, right? Whether it's a downward facing dog or a walk out in the street, doesn't have to be anything monumental. It could also be a ridge hike on the closest mountain, whatever it is. Experience deep felt gratitude for this body that you have.
So good. So good. And that's medicine. That's the medicine we're talking about. I know it doesn't come in a bottle. I know, but it's real. Hey, and where can our listeners find you?
Well, go ahead and find me at jennifer-helene.com. And there you can actually get a free 7-day lifestyle plan, which is full of tasty, original, delicious recipes that might inspire you, and some tips on how the next 7 days could even be more optimized for you.
Great. And we'll put the link in our show notes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helene. You've been awesome. I'm
Wow.
so grateful to have met you.
You too.
Okay. Well, team, that's it. That's me. That's Helene. And thank you so much for joining us. And go ahead and share this podcast with your friends and family. You know what? You never know how this would help somebody. Okay. And before we go, remember to remain unstoppable. Mwah! Talk to you later. Bye-bye.